Today's a good day. Do you know why it's a good day? Do you know why? It's the 16th of August today when I'm filming this. It's my birthday. Today is the day where I got my first ever camera 6 years ago. 6 years ago! Can you even fathom that? I remember when I first unboxed it, I immediately put my SIM card in and I started taking photos of my room. I was so excited, I just wanted to hear the I wanted to hear the shutter just go. I have come so far since then, and this is the video that I wanted to make for myself. Now, it's actually turning into a bit of a series, which is pretty cool. If you guys are enjoying this, like, 5 tips, then let me know. I'll keep doing these. I actually really enjoy doing these. I love editing these as well. These are tips that I would have liked to know when I first started out, so I asked myself this question. I'm like, what would past me binge on YouTube? Number 1, past Julio. Don't be afraid of ISO. Oh man, back in the day with DSLR cameras, yeah, I mean, it seemed scary. Grain in your images that could potentially destroy what you're trying to take a photo of. But nowadays, you don't have to worry about it. New cameras, even beginner cameras, have excellent ISO range. In Lightroom, there is a new AI denoiser, which literally works miracles. I think somehow they managed to put like a wizard in this AI, and it's just like click of a button, all of your grain is completely gone and it's sharp as hell. I don't understand how it works. It's so cool. I will be making a video explaining ISO, 3-part series explaining the fundamentals of photography and what ISO, aperture, and shutter speed mean. Number 2 is auto bracketing or HDR images. Now, if you understand exposure, which if you don't, check out this video here, I've already explained it, then you'll be able to understand what HDR images are. What it stands for is high dynamic range. And what dynamic range is essentially the ability for the camera to take a photo of the brightest images and the darkest images and making sure that you don't lose any sort of quality in between those. I use it a lot on my drone photos because that sensor is a lot smaller. If you have a bright sunny day, but then you have a lot of shadow in the foreground, then the camera's gonna really struggle to try and balance that out. So with this, you take one photo exposing for the sky, one photo exposing for all of it, and then another photo exposing for the shadows, stitch them all together, and then you get a beautiful, beautiful photo. Now, auto bracketing is essentially the mode that you can set your camera or your phone or your drone to, so it automatically takes a burst of photos. That's pretty much what it is. So if you have your camera settings dialed in for what the image is, then you take a photo on auto bracketing mode and it automatically in split second take a photo that's overexposed, underexposed, and then the photo that you dialed your settings in. And then you have 3 files which you put into Lightroom or Photoshop and then you stitch them all together. Number 3 is shoot manual all the time. As you guys know, I've got a bonus tip at the end. That tip is actually something that I absolutely love. There is nothing worse than having a good camera or even a beginner camera, even your phone, and just leaving it on auto. Now, don't get me wrong, you can take good photos in automatic mode. Obviously, those modes exist to help you get a better photo, but you lose control. And what you're losing control in is the creative process to take a good photo. If you leave everything on automatic, the camera will try and expose the image perfectly. What if you want to have a shallow depth of field with your aperture? Or what if you want to make sure your ISO is down low so you don't have too much grain? Well, you don't have control over that if you keep the camera all in automatic. The best part about nowadays is that you can actually see the image before you take the photo in the LCD screen or on your phone. Learning the basics is now so much easier, and to be honest with you, with me, I started on a DSLR camera. There's no technology on that. You don't actually know what the photo looks like unless if you open up the gallery and look at behind your screen. Film, which is my camera over there, way worse, because you can't actually tell what your photo looks like until you go develop it in the lab. Number 4 is to invest in quality filters. When you want to start to get a bit creative and you want to have some fun with it, filters are a great way to dip your toes into something that's a completely different world using the same equipment that you have right now. The types of filters that you could get are actually kind of endless. I'll have a polarizer, which is really good for cutting out reflections, as well as also bumping up a bit of saturation in the image. ND filters, or neutral density filters, are like sunglasses for your camera. It cuts out a certain amount of light, and it's really good for doing long exposure photography during the day. Say for example, you know those waterfall shots and you see that the water is all nice and misty? Well, you're using an ND filter to cut out the light in your camera so that you can use a longer shutter speed. A 5-second shutter speed makes the water all of a sudden turn into a misty stream. ND filters, polarizers, prisms, you'll get some really cool creative effects, and it really just like inspires you. It makes you kind of feel good. Number 5, and remember there's a bonus tip after this. Number 5, different angles when shooting a subject. This is so important. This takes a boring photo into something that's absolutely insane, Instagram viral worthy. It's so crucial to train yourself to think in different angles and making your brain aware of what might look good in certain situations. Best practice, and you can try it next time you do it, is just get down low. Think about it here. When you're going about, walking around your world, you see everything at eye level, correct? What's really interesting is that when you take a photo that's not at that eye level. And that's why it's so important to make sure you're looking at different angles. I love to get down low, either go on my knees or even my stomach sometimes, and it just changes the image completely. You can imagine if those photos were taken at eye level, they just wouldn't be as interesting as if you were down low and looking up, for example, at the subject. That's why drone photos are so interesting, is because they're at a perspective that no one gets to see unless if you're a bird. And have you seen a sentient bird? No. Especially one that holds a camera. A drone is a perfect example for that. You get a different perspective because the normal viewer always sees their world at eye level, and there is nothing more mundane and boring than seeing what everyone else sees on a daily basis. Bonus tip is prime lenses. Primes over zoom lenses. Prime lenses just challenge you in such a certain and unique way. A zoom lens, obviously, you can zoom. You can go from wide to tight. A prime lens, it's fixed. You can't zoom. That's it. That's pretty much it. If you're traveling, or if you're in a situation where you can't really predict what's going to happen and you need that versatility, absolutely. Zooms are great. That's what they're there for. But when given the chance, a prime lens challenges you in such a great way, because you yourself have to view the world with whatever focal length you're using, and you have to move in that world to make sure that you take a good photo. This is a 20mm prime. If I use this for street photography, which I have in the past, I've had to move myself and view the world in 20mm. It forced me to take very unique photos, and it challenged me, and it was great. It was a great learning experience. Primes have the sharpest image you can ever get. It's the best quality glass that you can buy, hands down. Simply because zoom lenses, they have moving parts. There's literally a mechanic that it goes forward and back. Because there's no moving parts, everything is dialed in to be the sharpest and best it could be. And ask any photographer, they'll always swear by zooms. I swear by zooms. I think they're just so much more fun, and it forces you to be creative.